George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it is cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
It's Missing the Point. It's the Power Ranking Show. We have a very special guest. Although I do hope that as the season goes on, it becomes less. We did a very partisan 2 shows over the course of like a season ago, where you and Ray, Mike, were on the MTV Boston feed, and me and Bobby did all the Power Ranking shows. And now we're becoming more egalitarian. Everybody's spreading back out against, just participating. And we're so glad to have you here on this lovely Wednesday in the Power Rankings. And we're talking about week 4 of the NFL going in. And I think it was an exciting week. Tipped off, capped off, however you want to say it, by the news that Brett Favre has Parkinson's. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, right? Like, the saddest part of Brett Favre having Parkinson's is that he stole all that money from those people. My
Allegedly.
last joke is I was trying to pick one joke, and then I decided I'm going to do all the jokes I could think of. My last joke is: do you think sending inappropriate text to women gives you Parkinson's? That's all we're going to do there. Any thoughts on the Brett Favre Parkinson's diagnosis? Was it CTE? I didn't click on the article.
I mean, you can't look back at his career and not walk away from the biggest hits that he took and say, man, that guy's gonna be fucked up when he gets older, right? I mean,
Right.
he was showing signs of it even 5 years ago whenever he would do interviews.
He hasn't been 100% right in quite some time. I
Right.
have to say.
No.
Does he get off the hook? Does he get off the hook for all the shit?
Those Lee Dungaree commercials.
Wrangler. He's a Wrangler.
Wrangler.
Yeah.
Wrangler.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Like you just know you're getting old when you go from Wrangler to Copper Fit, and that was like the progression of Brett Favre, and now he's probably going to be doing. I'm. It's sad in the sense that was the guy that we grew up watching. So
It is.
and whenever I don't know if how you two feel about
Parkinson's is technically a death sentence too. So
you never die from it, you die with
recover.
it.
Well, you don't recover from it, right?
Right. But you I don't know how you two feel about the new helmets that look like the helmet that Wes Welker should have been wearing his last season in St. Louis.
I mean, if
But,
they're
like,
helping
now
them
you
not,
under-
like, yeah,
Now you understand it.
Go ahead.
Now you
Yeah.
understand why they're wearing them, because Brett is not going to be in a good place here very soon. So it's sad in one respect, but I do share your sentiments. Is maybe you shouldn't defraud the state of Mississippi. Maybe you shouldn't send unsolicited dick pics to female employees. But I do feel bad for him in a sense.
Yeah.
I love how
Parkinson's is sad.
the rundown had that that couldn't have happened to a nicer person for like the first 5 to 10 minutes that you put it out there, and then all of a sudden it disappeared from it. It's
Yeah.
like,
Well, I deleted it thinking it
Thank-
might be better to get your firsthand reaction to the Parkinson's.
It was
What did Tuesdays with Maury have? He didn't have Parkinson's. He had ALS, right? Lou Gehrig's disease.
I
Right.
think so.
That one's worse,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
On that
ALS
note, actually,
ALS,
ALS,
ALS.
that's bad.
and it's more
Yeah,
debilitating.
You're like trapped in your fucking body. I think I would just try to kill myself before either of those diseases progress too far. I'm not like brave like Michael J. Fox. I think I would just fucking try to find a way to end it all. On that note, though, are you guys still gene wearers now in your 30s? Are you still?
Yes.
You still do the
Yeah.
gene in in most situations?
If it says casual at the end, yeah, I'm right.
Got
And it's not 65 degrees or warmer, I'm probably
Yeah.
going to be in jeans.
If
I'm a pants guy.
you're a pant, so like
I don't know what that means.
slacks, like
Trousers,
like trousers, khakis all the time.
khakis, dickies,
Beige. Oh yeah, different
board
color
shorts,
khakis. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a kind of I don't know. There's these pants that Lucky Brand make, and I would really just describe them as
Kind of
pants.
stretch. They're kind of like stretch
They have a little
almost. Yeah.
stretchy to them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know
they're kind
exactly
of
what
like
you're
a
talking about.
soft material on the outside. I would just describe them as
They're khakis.
corduroy. I have a corduroy pair, which I quite like. But like jeans, I don't know. I don't know. I do understand that jeans are good for like understanding where your health is. You know, like you need to like I do every now and again like try on jeans and be like, okay, we're still all right. Because like during the pandemic, that was a necessity. Like I think once every few weeks, I was like, I got to put a pair of jeans on just to make sure nothing's going
Yeah.
crazy, and it didn't help. So we're
I
talking
rock the
about
I rock the basketball shorts a lot.
basketball shorts. I think that's generational. I don't think anyone wears those
Yeah.
but us.
I
It was
rock the
cool when we were
basketball.
young, and now like you can spot us a mile away. Apparently that's true of like the ankle socks, and I've been buying
Rock the ankle
the
socks.
I've
too.
been buying the like slightly higher ones, just a little over
Nice.
the top, because I think I heard that the ankle socks age you, so I was like, I think I need to like blend in a little bit more, just a little bit more. I don't want to be spotted. All right. Guys, I honestly don't think it's an overreaction to talk about cross-offs already. I know we've only played 3 games, but I think that there's definitive things that we know, that we saw with our eyes. I'm going to just bring up the Bengals briefly in this context. I'm not ready to cross them
Not
off
yet.
yet, but
Not yet.
dear
Not
God, 0-3, and some of the defensive blunders, I would go so far as to call them blunders, over the course of this last game week were really upsetting to watch. I was on the one hand like a little relieved that one of the Monday night games sucked, so I could just watch one Monday night game of football, and it was this one, and it was a shootout, and I did enjoy it. The Burrow Chase connection looks like they were like, "Fuck, we got to dial this in now," and they did. Right? We can't write them off yet because they always start slow, but they have a big uphill battle at this point with the
Yep.
schedule that they have remaining. And like, I don't know, maybe we have the same conversation about the Bengals every week, every year.
Every fucking year.
But
we're
like,
doing it.
but
Every
Bobby,
year.
where are they? I mean, I know we're not crossing them off yet. What do you think's more likely? Are we going cross off in a week or two, or do you think they start to turn it around?
I forget who they play this week.
Let me look it up for you. The Panthers. That's
Panthers,
get it
right,
fixed
so-
game. That's got to be a let's get it fixed game.
This is the get
Andy
yeah.
Dalton and the Panthers.
A new and improved Panthers. It could go badly.
It's a
Which-
revenge game for Andy Dalton. Remember that.
They just have no line whatsoever. So if there's any team to get right with no line whatsoever, it's the Panthers. The defense looks really bad. The defense looks really, really bad.
It looks
The
badly
offense
coached.
and I was just gonna say, Zach Taylor might be the worst coach in the NFL at the moment.
That's we're just doing overreactions. That's what we're doing.
Well, no,
Uh,
you didn't see the like 9 connections of Zach Taylor where he's connected to every team that's
Yes,
0-3.
yes, I do agree that he's not great. I do think that there's people that are stealing their paychecks more than him at the moment. And when we come to talk
Like
about
Mike
Chicago,
McCarthy.
when we come to talk about Chicago, when we come to talk about Dallas, I think we can have those kinds of conversations. But sticking to the Bengals, Mike, I mean, the offense did that thing that it does where it looked absolutely fucking electric. I really love watching the Bengals offense when they're cooking. They're that team.
That O-line is just
It's bad, but like they
garbage.
can at least scheme around it. And I think Burrow's talented enough and has enough weapons that's kind of the Bengals football that you've been used to watching. I mean, they took that kind of football, that brand of football to the Super Bowl. Is it a dereliction of duty that they haven't done anything to like augment that offensive line and the defense seems to have gotten worse? Yes. We had these conversations about like kind of what direction they were going and like why they seem weird already, but they're still exciting. It's still an exciting brand of football to watch on the offensive side of the ball. So considering the fact that they have this sort of high offensive upside, same question to you. Do you think that we're going to see a recovery like we have in past years? Last year being a little bit of an asterisk because Burrow went down, so you don't know. Maybe they could have recovered. They look like they were going to kind of start. Or do you think a backslide is incoming because to walk this tightrope is sort of untenable?
Yeah, I don't think we can cross them off yet. I mean, obviously, I'm just a guest here on this program, but
No, I mean, I
think
think we're in agreement about that. You know, I don't think we're ready to do that yet. I just think it in the context of the conversation, we should let the Bengals know, and I'm sure that they're curious that they're teetering on a cross off on this show, and I think that's going to mean the world to them if they can turn that around.
And we should let the world know that Mike's a guest.
Yeah, you're welcome. I just think that like 0-3 for this team, like we used to talk a lot about the first 4 games up here in New England were just an extension of the preseason. Like if you can just get through to like about 2-2, you're fine. The Bengals, for some reason, have been able to get through the first 4 games at 1-3, and not worry me. So I'm still not worried. The 2 things that are most concerning are the offensive line, and that they didn't really try to replace Joe Mixon. Maybe they didn't think he was a big,
I
contribution
actually
to their
didn't
offense.
mind their running back play. I really didn't
Well,
mind running back.
I was gonna say, but what's elevated is their tight ends.
Yeah.
Like Mike Gesicki, we had him last year. He didn't do this, and that's I now I can fully tell you it was not his fault. But they also they have that rookie. Like I think they're a formidable offense, and their defense plays better when their offense is cooking. So no, I don't think they're going to backslide. I still think we're going to see the Bengals at somewhere around 10-7 or 9-8 at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean,
I hope so because we predicted that.
Well, I'm really glad that you're always on top of our predictions because you're a winner.
Why do a show if you don't want to win, right?
That's what you're trying to do. I'm crossing off the Jags. I'm crossing off the Jags, and I am willing to leave to the side one of those adrenaline needles, like from Pulp Fiction, when he like stabs Uma Thurman in the chest and she wakes up. If they fire Doug Peterson in the next 2 weeks, if they're able to do that, and somebody with like some competence comes in, but I don't want to nail myself to this cross because, quite frankly, and I was going to come on to this, I think Trevor Lawrence might be a cross off. I think that he might be all done. I think we might be all done with the Trevor Lawrence experiment. Mike,
did you see the stat where it was comparing him to Bryce Young?
This is exactly the stat I was just about to bring up. The next thing out of my mouth was going to be, Mike, you're a stats guy. Did you see the stat where basically him and Bryce Young are the same guy on paper? You could cover up their names and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the two. His numbers since becoming an NFL quarterback are they're a failing grade. And unfortunately, I did see things when he came into the league, like everybody else, that I thought was going to accelerate him to an elite level. One of the things I saw, and a thing that really stuck out to me, was that he was always super, super aware in the pocket. He was elite, right away, elite at sensing danger. Tom Brady, to me, at his absolute peak, always could sense danger around the blind side. He never really with obviously a few notable exceptions, which I think happens to everybody. He always sensed pressure so well at such an elite level, like in his prime, whichever prime you want to choose. I would say the first one was more evident. But Lawrence, he's trigger happy now. Now that elite skill that I know he had at an NFL level at a certain time seems to have gone. The pocket collapses for a second. He panics. That makes me think that they broke him in Jacksonville. That makes me think that it's that poverty franchise's fault that like a talented quarterback isn't talented. Rarely do we see quarterbacks leave after not succeeding at first and then succeeding down the line, except for this season, I guess. There's like 4 of them. But
right.
But Sam Darnold's an NFL QB now. Fucking Justin Fields is like gone up a few.
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith has like revived his career. Does Jameis come in and replace Deshaun? And like, do we see something happen there? The annual Jameis year. So, all that being said, where do you see it? Where do you see it all going?
So I do think that we can cross off the Jags, but I don't think we should cross off Trevor Lawrence yet, because it's hard for me to cross off a guy whose rookie year he was managed by coached by Urban Meyer and that fucking dumpster fire, and then the next year comes back and leads a come from behind playoff victory.
Take. It's a very reasonable take.
Right?
Really not what we do here.
Sorry, but
I'm just kidding.
I think he's shown that he has it, but he's in a situation where I don't think he gets the amount the pressure that a big market quarterback would be, because it is Jacksonville. We're not accustomed to seeing quarterbacks.
Brink. The entire media has written off Caleb Williams already because he has a terrible.
Chicago's a big market.
It sucks. Like, it
is
sucks.
a football
The pressure is
market.
really different. The pressure is really different.
But if Caleb came into an awful coaching scenario, and then next year he makes the playoffs and pulls off an 18-point coming from behind victory, you're not going to write him off 2 years later. I just don't think you're going to do that. And that's where we are with Trevor. I think he has all the intangibles that we were talking about this in our
He looks
group
broken
chat.
though.
Right.
He looks broken. He looks like he looks like
he
a
looks very
basketball
average.
player.
He hasn't looked like a quarterback that could win games by himself in 2 years.
He might just be a better
Over
Mac
2
Jones,
years.
where he can't make the talent around him better, but when there is talent around him, he can take them far. Do you know what I mean? That might be where he is.
I think the comp there is Josh Allen, right? Like I think we've seen Josh Allen this season become the former of your example. Like he now is, and I think he always sort of had that kind of thing. Like you could see that he could do it, but there was like mistake prone football would like always sort of back it up. His leap this season so far, I mean, there is an inevitable overreaction across the league, because this is what we have to talk about. We have a small data set, right? Like we're here with this smaller data set we're trying to analyze. But to me, it looks like Josh Allen is doing a lot. Like he's the guy on that team winning those games. And I agree with Bobby completely. I just haven't seen him be the guy to win his team a game or look like he could even do an impression of that guy is the thing. And that kind of stagnant quarterback play from a guy you have high expectations of, like when guys like Trevor Lawrence, or like, if you're watching Justin Fields, if you're a fan of him, the guys that Caleb Williams, if the guys that haven't developed fully yet, the jury's still out on Sam Darnold's resurgence, you get excited when they drop back to pass because you're like, what's going to happen? And watching Trevor Lawrence, I really thought I was going to have a good time doing that this year. I was pretty high on them coming in, and unfortunately, it hasn't panned out that way. So I do agree with you, Mike, and Bobby, I think you will too. It's a pretty reasonable take. Bobby and I are a little overreacting when it comes to this stuff, but
he's on like a 12-game losing streak.
It's really not great. I do think like the Doug Peterson of it all. The Doug Peterson of it all, though. If anyone has worn a visor in their life, they should not be permitted into your training facility.
The second losing streak over 10 games of his career. It's not
bad.
great. That's not good.
I don't think it's his fault.
Because of where he goes.
No, I understand.
That is true, but I mean, you can say that about Bryce Young too.
Yeah, well, Bryce Young also sucks.
And he's 5'3". Like that's the difference, right?
Yeah,
like,
well,
there's a huge difference.
What about Kyler?
I'm not big on Kyler. He does. I mean, but you know that.
Well, we'll get there. So we've talked briefly about the Jags. I mean, it's not looking great over there. I'm really sorry, Jacksonville fans. It's looking pretty bleak.
Can I just ask a question, DK?
Please.
Why are the Patriots not the first team you're going to cross off?
I'm not crossing them off yet. I still think that they look.
Can you?
Well, no, I don't even want to actually.
They have the worst offense I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, here's the thing, Bobby. I've seen you say. I've listened. I've heard you say that before. So it's like you got to pick one. You said that about the Steelers last year. So they're worse than them?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you see that Thursday night performance against the Jets?
It was a bad Thursday night performance.
It was really good. It was
quite possibly the worst football game I've ever watched.
It was bad.
They had 32 yards in the first half.
I mean it seems unfair to cross off the Patriots, but we're not there yet. We'll talk about the Pats when we get to that point in the proceedings. The Las Vegas Raiders. I think they were a little bit of an enigma coming into this season because we thought
we can't cross them off yet, though.
I wouldn't say yet, but they're flirting with it. I really, really think they're flirting with it.
They lost to the Panthers, right?
Yeah, but they got beat up on by an Andy Dalton and the Panthers, which like I just think that there's more. It's more likely that like the fucking Raiders are trash than like we're gonna see the Panthers go on some sort of a fucking run, led by Andy Dalton. Like I had Andy Dalton as a quarterback. Like it's gonna be okay. Like he'll become Andy Dalton again pretty soon. Like don't worry.
Right. But in that first game, he never shows his true colors.
Everyone's in the league has had Andy Dalton. It's like,
yeah, he's the modern day
eighth grade girl, right?
He's the modern day Fitzmagic. I feel like he's just been everywhere. He's a little fucking backup QB slut. He's probably made a great living, to be honest with you. Probably. I bet he's gotten paid like a decent amount of cash. He's a good backup, but
terrible starter.
Yeah, but you don't want to be 3 games in being like, we got to switch to Andy Dalton. I've been in that situation. Your season's fucked. Like I promise you, your season's fucked. If you're a Panthers fan and you're talking yourself into anything, No, your team's still like bad. Anyway, I mean, I don't know. The Raiders, I drafted that Zaire White guy, and he basically has done nothing. And I drafted him like pretty high because I thought he was going to be good. But like that place is run so fucking badly that he's gotten like a point a week. And my running back situation is dire because of him. So now I have like a bad taste in my mouth about the fucking Raiders, and just like their whole thing. Like just all the bullshit that they're doing down there. Yeah, you can't lose to that team. The Raiders to me this season are the you can't lose to them team. If you lose to them, it's embarrassing. You have to like cop for that if you lose to that team. It was looking like it was going to be the Panthers. It was looking like it was going to be the don't be the one team that loses to the Panthers for the love of God season. But actually now they've transferred the disease. Yeah, they've transmitted the virus over to the
game.
What's that?
Just in the game. Just
Yeah,
live
they just like got it
game.
all over them, and then like now they don't have the disease
Like
anymore.
that
It's
movie,
videotape from the ring,
like that STD movie.
Yeah, or the videotape from the ring, which I'm pretty sure was an allegory for STD.
Okay, yeah.
Or It Follows. That was another one.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That's a good horror movie right there. That scared the bejesus out of me. I don't want to spend too much time on the Las Vegas Raiders unless you guys have like a hot take. I hope to not really have to address them on this show ever again. Does that mean they're a cross-off then? Because if we never want to speak about them again,
I vote that you cannot cross them off before the Patriots.
Okay.
You can't.
Okay.
Their offense is exponentially
Give me one
better.
more week on the Patriots because I did see them look frisky defensively, and like it was a short week, and
once
we'll see. It does. If you, I don't want to go too far down the road of football math, but there is like a really interesting little round robin equation that happened over this last weekend where like the Pats looked so bad and the Steelers became a 3-0 the Seahawks became a 3-0 team against a Tua-less Dolphins. And then like the Pats looked so bad that like all the stocks of the Seahawks wins went down like across the board. And you were just like, still can't really factor it. Like it's just getting worse for them. Like their wins are just getting deflated, but we'll come on to talk about them. Really quick, can we cross off the Titans and Will Levis? Are we done there?
Yes.
We don't have to discuss them ever again.
No.
Yes.
No?
Cross them off.
Yeah, I feel
Are they 0-3, right?
They're so
body.
bad.
Have you? I mean, you've never seen a worse offense than the New England Patriots again for the third year in a row. But have you ever seen a more dysfunctional quarterback than Will Levis?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, you know what? That's a good point though, because I do actually think they rank pretty highly still on interior like run defense and stuff. Like they could maybe get something out of that defense that's still kind of like shadows of Vrabel, but they have to bench Levis and like get somebody else in there. They have to figure something out. Like just for the love of God, like that's so bad. Like he literally threw the game away against the Bears. The Bears should be 0-3. The Browns.
The worst quarterback. That's
Sean the worst quarterback of all time.
That's the worst quarterback play I've ever
Of
seen.
all time.
That's the worst quarterback play.
Basically bottom of the list of the Browns QBs of the last 25 years.
Which has been comically long and been like the most comical.
It's the worst list of quarterbacks available to us as football fans. And he's at the bottom of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen worse quarterback play in my life. And I'm a Bears fan.
Oh, yeah, he's bad.
Listen,
it's just
Deshaun Watson made the Cowboys defense look good in week 1. And the Cowboys defense is the worst defense I've ever seen in my goddamn life.
Oh, Jesus.
So not too much hyperbole. You're missing the point.
No.
Everything's the worst thing that he's seen in his life. I like this motif of a joke. It's good. Okay, look. It's really bad over there in Cleveland. I feel like the owner is making them start Deshaun still. It's Jameis time. It's fun when it's Jameis time at your team. Like ask the Saints. Like you always get like a little bounce when Jameis comes in, and then like he does a weird interview about how he needs like LASIK, and then he throws 11 interceptions, and then your season's over, and it's great.
He's a darker Andy Dalton.
Yeah,
if Flacco can do it in Cleveland, Jameis can do it.
I would almost call if Flacco's on a team though, right? They should have kept him around. That would have been.
I'm pretty sure he's on the Colts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
He might see the field if Richardson keeps playing as sort of.
Yeah. So happy I drafted Anthony Richardson. It's the best.
Yeah.
I was wondering why everyone was drafting him in like.
I kind of thought he was gonna be fun. I
he's such a high pick for him.
It's hard for me to resist quarterbacks that I know can also run. Like, it's
Right.
so hard to resist. Like, I always want one of those on my team. A guy that can just move and shake a little bit. Like, it's nice. Okay. We're gonna move on from those fucking poor bastards because I feel terrible for Cleveland Browns fans. And I'm glad that
Maybe want to cross
Brett
off the
thinks this.
Titans this early.
We can keep
Yes.
them if you want to keep them. I mean, it only takes one veto to keep them.
Can you just provide me with an argument to keep them?
I just don't think that we're ever going to talk
I
about
think
them
it's really
on the
all
power
right,
rankings
That's
show.
fair. That's fair.
In the context
fair.
of like the 10 best teams, like the only thing that gets you into the conversation is if we're a fan of one of them, or they, a bad team like sort of beats a good team, and we figure out how like much that impacts the power rankings, right? Like at this point, the Titans need to to get back in the conversation. The Titans need to beat a team in the power rankings. So I just don't think it'd be that big of a loss, if we
That's
cross
fair.
them off.
That's
But
fair.
whatever. We'll yellow it, and they're not fully ready yet. They're just highlighted. So you're on notice. Browns we talked about. All right, let's come on to our teams. I
Can we
think
start
that
with
no,
the
shut up,
Cowboys?
Bobby. I'm doing
right.
it. I have to access my emotions here.
right.
I think I was on record at the end of last season that Eberflus had to go. And I don't know what happened. I think I actually do know what happened. I got
Hard
so
knocks.
caught up in not even that. I got so caught up in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, the like, we're going to get the number 1 overall pick. We're going to get the best guy. The guy's so good that I totally forgot that we were bringing him back to a house built by morons. And I got then a follow-up. I got a little bait and switch by the fact that we went and got a new offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. And I was like, well, maybe with the right support system, Eberflus does seem to have the locker room together.
Like a little Joe Mazzulla switch up.
A little Joe Mazzulla help, a little bit like, let's get him a good support staff. Like, let's get obviously Luke Getsy is like the worst offensive coordinator who's ever lived. And he's over there in Las Vegas where he should be. Like, that team should be playing arena football, and he would be the perfect offensive coordinator for that. But Shane Waldron drew up a speed option play on 4th and 1 that lost us 12 yards. And there's a screenshot of every Bears offensive lineman on the ground and DeAndre Swift like trying to do something. And to me, I had to just streak past denial with this guy, because what's true about Shane Waldron is he has no idea what DeAndre Swift is good at, despite, I'm sure, having access to hundreds of hours of tape on the guy who's his RB1, right? And we cannot afford, and I'm sorry if this seems reactionary, but we cannot afford in Chicago to break our shiny new toy. We're not going to get another chance like this. There's moments with Caleb Williams where I'm 100% sure he is A+ talented, despite the fucking idiocy and the offensive line issues around him. You need to go and get a stabilizing coaching staff in there yesterday. I don't care. I don't care that it's only week 3. I don't care. There's no precedent for it. It was a mistake. We need to acknowledge the mistake. They look completely fucking unprepared. And again, they look like they have no idea how to run a competent offense with weapons. There's admitted weapons in there. There's guys that are good. There's a world, there's a high ceiling world where you could take the roster on the offensive side of the ball for Chicago and make them the 10th best offense in the NFL. I really, truly believe that. And they're currently clocking in as a distant 32nd. Distant 32nd.
No, that's
yes.
not. You don't. No.
Yes,
don't.
it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
DK, Caleb Williams threw for more yards last week than Jacoby Brissett has thrown all season.
Now, I'm talking about all the advanced analytics stats. Throws over 15 yards completed, 32nd. Time in the pocket, 32nd. Fucking yards per carry, a distant 32nd. What do you think our yards per carry is this season? Just rough.
I'm gonna guess 2.8.
2.6. You gave us 0.2. You gave us 0.2 tenths. I was so surprised to hear your thoughts on the Patriots, guys, because that's the worst offense I've ever fucking seen in my life. That's crazy.
No.
Caleb Williams is talented. Caleb Williams did some cool shit in that game. Caleb Williams is backed by idiots, and he needs a different scheme. Like, I understand the line's not good, but no line is that bad. You can scheme around it. He never rolls out. He never once rolls out. He looks good rolling out. Like, it's one of the things he can do. And I wasn't a USC guy. I didn't fucking follow it closely, but I was like, one thing he can do, which will be good because our offensive line isn't that great, is he can roll out. Like, and he can throw when his body's in weird positions, but pretty accurately with a lot of sauce on it. I would fire everybody. I would change the locks tomorrow. But maybe
we're like, it's so wild to me that the last time you and I did the show together, you were just gassing me up about Eberflus's haircut, and he's got a beard now.
Yeah,
and
I got completely fooled by Hard Knocks. I think that should have been obvious to you. I think that's your fault for not reining me in, because obviously I just got the pixie dust of like my team being.
To be clear, I tried. You said, and I quote, "Fuck you, Mike. I'm gonna ride with this."
Yeah, listen, that does sound like something I would say. So I can't quite argue with that. But what do you guys think the problem is? It's not Caleb, right? It can't be Caleb at this point.
No,
it's definitely not Caleb.
I think you're in a situation right now that you have. I don't think your offensive coordinator is good. I'm with you there. I don't think.
And the Seahawks offense looks better since he left, apparently. So
I don't know enough about Eberflus to determine whether he's a good enough coach or not. But I do know that.
How about just the moment where the 2-point conversion cost us a timeout because he didn't know that we were going for 2 to make it 11.
Yeah, that's not great.
No, it's bad. But it's a dereliction of coaching duty.
But I do know that. Here's what I know: like you went from a team that did not have many toys in the chest to play with to now one that does, and it takes some time to figure that out. So if you can walk through 5 weeks and you can be either just 3-2 or 2-3, I'm gonna feel fine for your season, and you should too. This is a learning experience for Caleb. All you said going into it, yeah, we had high expectations.
There was some low lows. And that should have been a bounce back game against that Colts team. And despite the defense, I think, looking really good again, and I am high on the defense, all of our interceptions were Anthony Richardson inexplicably throwing it directly to a Chicago Bear. So I'm not going to take did you see that Damar Hamlin pick?
He threw to 4 Chicago Bears in the end zone.
Yeah. It was pretty spot on. But did you see that Damar Hamlin pick? Lawrence, I was like, bro, your receiver was wide open and he was right in front of you. I was like, that was one of the worst throws I've ever fucking seen in my entire life. Yep. Anthony Richardson was making, those are the 2 worst throwing QBs over the course of the weekend. And it was really glaring and bad, but we still couldn't win the fucking game. We had not enough timeouts by the end. Last week against the Texans, who I thought was a bigger deal to keep that game close, but they don't look that fucking sexy anymore. And there was a moment where there was a catch that the guy 2-footed, he planted both his feet in front of Eberflus. Eberflus was in the fucking shot of the slow motion, looking at the guy's feet. And you can see they clearly landed bounds. And he threw the fucking challenge flag. I wanted to go down there and punch him in his fucking chest. I was like, what are you doing? You were standing right there. That's crazy to me. And that was when the first red flag, no pun intended, sparked up. And yeah, I agree with you that the roster looks fine and there could be worse problems, but do you think I'm totally crazy to be like, can we just hire Mike Vrabel today? No. Can we just please do that right now?
Because I'm on the same page as you.
Yeah, race you to Vrabel, Bob.
Race you to hire Vrabel or Belichick right now.
Belichick, I think, would fit in Dallas. You guys can have him.
Yes,
he's just perfect for Dallas.
I think Vrabel would be perfect for us. He would keep everything super conservative. He'd get a run game going, and he would keep the points off the board for the other team for the rest.
It's just funny.
Our defense would look great.
You could probably play back the last 3 years of Cowboys sound blurbs for me, and me complaining about holding on first and second down is probably the most common thing that has happened, because it's been a problem for literally the last 3-4 years, and that's to me a number one issue is coaching.
Yeah, I mean your coaching staff has also got to go. I hate to say
it.
But we both made the same mistake in the offseason. Both of our teams stuck when we should have twisted. Yep. And that's just the long and short of it.
I do think the Bears did the right thing, is that they upgraded most of the offensive personnel to then identify if the coach needs to go now, if it doesn't go well.
You think that's what they were doing? You think they were playing 3D chess? You're giving them a lot of credit there.
I don't think they're going to take that many chances with a guy like Caleb Williams after what happened with Justin Fields. I think they've learned.
I hope you're right. We never pay any fucking coaches.
I hope so.
That's the big fucking problem. But
the Cowboys have not learned anything, Bobby. I was not talking to you.
they do. They do keep getting beat with the same stick. Yo,
Correct.
Bobby, they're awful.
Well, I mean, you got guys like Jerry Jones commending himself, saying how he's the best GM in the world, and then getting torched by Derrick Henry. Them asking if they regret him not signing him, and being like, "Well, we couldn't afford him." Motherfucker, what the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Well, they couldn't because they hadn't paid any of their other starters. So had they,
Yeah,
had
but they still
paid-
could have afforded him. He's 2 years, $16 million contract.
Yeah.
I mean, what you do with Jerry, because he's the greatest GM in the world, is what you do is you ask for 10 million, and then he's going to say no, and then you wait 3 weeks, and then you're going to get 15 million. I think that's how Jerry Jones is. I think that's Jerry Jones's, and I'm use 10 as like a, just an example number.
Yeah.
But you name your number, and you wait 4 weeks, like leaving a turkey basting in the oven, and then you pull it out, and he's like, yeah, I know you said 10 million, but all we can do is 25 million. That's Jerry Jones, I think, in a nutshell. I think that's his ludicrous negotiating style. But if you were to look at that scoreline, it was 28-25, Bobby. I mean, that was a close game. You barely lost.
It's such a bullshit scoreline. They
What
got
the
their
fuck though?
fucking
The
ass
Ravens, like, I mean, we'll come to talk about them later, but like sneaky preview, like they love doing that still. Like they love just like taking their fucking foot off the gas at the end of a game. Like I didn't think Dallas was gonna win at any point for one single second, but I was a little bit like, okay, Baltimore, stop that. You have no running back room at all to speak of.
Zero.
Your defense looks like it has completely given up. I
This
have
is
no
the-
idea what's going on with your defense.
It's-
They were all
it's-
shaking
and-
their fucking heads.
So
And I have to
it's-
say, I would have given CeeDee Lamb a real fucking talking to for his whole shit during that whole game.
His demeanor was bullshit.
Every
entire game.
camera cut to him was so bad.
But so what happened with the defense is Dan Quinn, his whole thing is all about speed. And all of a sudden you bring in Mike Zimmer, who's all about zone defense and strength up the middle. But he's got guys that are all about speed in the fucking defense. So you know what I mean? That you can't. It's pathetic. It's pathetic
sorry.
because
I'm sorry, you
every
sound
single
hurt.
year, it's the same shit where it's like the glaring needs are so obvious coming into the offseason, and the Cowboys just don't address them. And then in the season, they just get their ass kicked in those needs. It's like you knew that you needed a strength up front. You knew you needed that coming into the season. You knew you needed that. And look what happens. Look what happens as soon as you face teams that have any run game whatsoever. You got two weeks in a row, 191 yards rushing, and then 252 yards rushing.
Eesh.
It's just
you mean 274
unbelievable.
yards rushing.
274, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ravens were like allergic to throwing the ball. They were like, why would we? Like, why would we? We just
Which
get
is
to do
odd.
whatever we want.
Because if they had done this against the Chiefs last year in the AFC Championship, they would have gotten the Super Bowl. But they were dead set on throwing. But
Yeah.
Bobby,
Yeah, we
I'm
said
gonna
that.
say
The Cowboys are not the Chiefs. So
I'm gonna say something to you, and I just want you to know I promise you I'm not trying to be a dick. It's going to come off that way. That's just my natural demeanor. I want you to remember this moment now. 8 weeks from now, after the Cowboys have gone 6-2 in their next 8,
they're not going to
and
the tough schedule.
This is what happens though. They don't address any major issues in the offseason. Then somehow, because Jerry does do a good job at drafting talent, I'll give him that. He does, and he does put together a good roster.
Shit.
And then you get to the end of the year, and you just don't have enough, and it's because you have a terrible head coach, and your GM didn't do the right things in the offseason. This is the playbook for them the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's what we do.
All right, Mike. Well, we're
You're not a dick. You're not a dick. So
Well, I am, but it's not because of that.
No, you are a dick. We're coming on now to talk about the New England Patriots.
Great.
I thought it was a little puzzling why they put Drake May on.
May I?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think you all had your time to talk about your team.
Please.
As I said before, this was quite possibly the worst football game that I've ever actually sat through with a team that I cared about. I mean, they could not do anything. Jacoby Brissett was 12 of 19 or something like that for 60 something yards because he was sacked 5 times for 50 yards. He can't do it. And Well, that's why, like, when I was when we were talking in the group chat, we know Ray wants Drake May to go in. I don't understand why you'd want to send your the number 3 overall pick
Oh
into
man,
slaughter like
he
that.
looked like he was
Like,
gonna die out there. That was
yeah,
bad.
because he almost did fucking die out there. This team doesn't have an offensive line. We don't have any receivers that can actually get open in the amount of time that our offensive line will hold the rush for. So this, I can't even tell you that Pop Douglas or anyone sucks because they don't even have time to run a route before their quarterback is running for their lives. But the biggest problem with this team is that we had an overinflated worth of the defense, and it's not good. This is literally 2 weeks in a row that you've been cooked. One of them was by Geno Smith. Geno Smith completed 22 of 24 passes to 2 wide receivers on you for 250 yards. And Aaron Rodgers has it, what, an 81% completion percentage against you? Like, you're not good. I think, Christian Gonzalez is good. He's not great. It's not Darrelle Revis out there, but
Well,
I'm happy that,
give him a minute.
I am very happy that it feels like it's evening out. This team has no reason to bring in Drake May right out the season. Hopefully Jacoby doesn't die, and get yourself a left tackle, because that was awful to watch. You didn't watch the full game. You're like, you know what, guys, I'm out.
I kept saying that. I kept saying that, but I was just on my computer and my TV's right here, so I like kind of left it on. I was just saying that to be a dick. And then when they put Drake May in, I was excited. I wanted to see it. The off chance that he just like starts lighting it up. But man, nobody can do anything in that offensive line. Nobody. Like, that would be they were getting absolutely fucking crushed. And I don't even think if they came up against a front seven of like really like upper echelon front seven, I shudder to think. Do they have any of those coming up? I mean, I think the Jets are okay, but I don't think that they're like fucking 57 sacks good.
They're playing the 49ers this week. And the 49ers
they're banged up. They're banged up.
But they just lost. So this is going to be a get right game for the 49ers. So do you think Jacoby's
going
to survive?
You know what? Actually, it's kind of a good transition. I don't know if you have a lot more to say about the Pats, but we can kind of go in and out, because I do feel like the 49ers might be in for a season from hell. Like, they're not on the power rankings list, and I think for good reason. I really do think that they have I think they have a tough time recovering from where they're at. Like, McCaffrey goes down. It's a weird injury. You know how I feel about weird injuries, where you just never get enough like information on it, and you're just like, I don't like it. Could it be 8 weeks instead of 4? Like, I don't know. The Ayuk stuff in the offseason was weird. A lot of banged up personnel, like, across the defense. Like, their defense didn't look good. Their defense did not fucking look good this week, and I worry about them. And I think I agree that it should be a get-right game for them, and they should probably roll the Pats over. But if it's a get-right game for the Pats, who are admittedly feisty at least once, then you have a situation where, like, maybe it's just a definitive, okay, season from hell from the 49ers. Like, what do you think is going to happen in that game?
I think the 49ers are absolutely going to blow the fucking doors off of the Patriots. Like, we talked earlier about how, it might have been the Panthers. It could be the Raiders that, you can't lose to that team. I think the Patriots are the team that you can't lose to. And I don't think anyone should be fired right now except for the general manager. But it's because they're so inept. Their defense maybe could be a good defense, but they can't be a good defense when you're passing for 130 yards a game. Like, that can't happen.
Well, they're on the field quite a bit, right?
On a good day.
Right, they're so offensively inept that their defense is going to look worse because they're actually on the field for 45 out of 60 minutes.
So the actual one thing that the Bears offense strangely has done well is, like, we've won time of possession, I think, all 3 games, if not 2 out of 3, and it just makes the defense look so much better. It's the really big difference with the Steelers this year too, who we'll come on to talk about. Like, their defense isn't banged up, and they're on the field for the correct amount of time because the offense is just, like, doing what it needs to do. That's how you win games with defenses. Like, that's the only way to do it. If you have a great defense, all 3 of us have all seen our teams have great defenses. And what you're constantly worried about, especially now, like especially in the last 15 years, is time on the field. Because in a war of attrition, a defense always loses, right? So I think that feeds into the idea that, it's still you're going to be true about your offense next week. I get it. But if you can you just have to get to mediocre, because I do think your defense could look 70% better if it had a little bit of time of possession on the other side. Don't you think?
Yes, but DK, when Vegas is setting the over/under for passing yards and your quarterback at 145 yards per game, your defense is going to be on the field a fuck ton.
Who's starting? Is it Brissett
It's
again?
Brissett. Yeah.
It's still Brissett. Yeah.
If they were starting May, I would take that over, just for the
Yeah.
record.
I probably wouldn't be that over, but yes. Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't know why you put him on for 5 minutes just to like put the fear of God in him. I really don't.
Because
It's like that was bad.
Well, because I think it was just telltale sign. Like you're getting blown out. You always put your backups in, especially
But
if
the
you
narrative.
think your starter could be getting killed. And again,
Is that what they told Brissett though? Like, did they have to reassure him like you're gonna get back in next week? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a added pressure when it's your first round pick quarterback that like people are the champion at the bit for, right? So there's like you kind of have to like deal with that narrative. Like, do you guys have a third QB?
Yeah, Joe Milton.
Maybe just put him in there. Like, I think that might have been the move. I really like to literally just be like, no, he's on ice. Like it's
Right.
that like the one positive you could have taken from last week if you didn't put May in and you put Milton in would have been we definitively shut down the narrative that May is ever going to see the field, because if he was gonna, he would have. So don't worry about it. And then that puts Brissett in a better headspace. It makes it so that Drake May doesn't, he doesn't feel the pressure. Just sit back, learn your playbook, fucking go home to your like new couch you probably just bought, and like enjoy it, right? In Southborough or whatever the fucking third overall pick resides in Massachusetts when you play for the Patriots.
Foxborough.
I doubt he lives in Foxborough. I have to say,
It could be Franklin.
It could be Franklin. It could be Southborough. It could be Newton. It could be
Mansfield.
It's definitely not Mansfield.
Mansfield's very up and coming.
Yeah, up and coming. I think if you're the like future of the Patriots,
Newton, Chestnut Hill.
Chestnut Hill. Yeah, that would be really cool. If you're the future of the Patriots, I hope that they don't put you in Mansfield, because honestly, that makes me feel like they don't think that you're gonna be the starting.
I mean, Brady was in Franklin and Attleboro. Big house.
Franklin's nice as shit. That makes sense. We were just talking about how nice the Dean College campus had no right to be as nice as it was. But
it's even nicer now, like I said.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't need to know where Drake May lives. I just hope that he lives. Doesn't see the field again for the Patriots this season. But yeah, I mean, I was a little worried about the 49ers. We touched on that. What's up next? Seahawks weren't on the list. I don't.
3-0 Seahawks. The
3-0
only
Seahawks
3-0 not on the list.
I get it why they're not, though. Like I get why they would be, and I get why they wouldn't. I looked at a bunch of power rankings after you sent your list. There was some that had him at 4. There was some that didn't have him on there at all. There was some that had him at 9. So it's completely about how you value their wins. I think that they look like they were going to win the game, Tua or Tua not, personally. So I think that it's tough to say, they beat a Tua-less Dolphins team. It's like, well, they knocked Tua unconscious, and that, and then this guy Skylar Gray came in, I admit, is not good at all. And I admit that they had no chance of winning after a QB, the QB replacement, because man, for a team that has a very concussion-prone QB1, they did not prepare a QB2 like at all. So because that was gnarly. That whole thing was really gnarly. So you might want to start doing open casting calls in Miami for QB1s at this point, because that's going to be a rough offensive season, I think, for your drafters of the Waddles of the world. I still think Tyreek can get you points because he's Tyreek Hill, but I think like a Waddle upside season might be slowly slipping away. But yeah, I mean, the Seahawks beat the Patriots. You think the Patriots are the worst football team ever assembled?
That's all I said, but I could be convinced.
I think thematically it's on point, and I think that essentially the weight of their wins isn't high enough. And if I could borrow some logic from some storylines that we've had in the past seasons, you guys, when the Steelers were 7-0, refused to give them any credit, and you were right. In the end,
they're 12-0.
Super. Were they? Did they fucking win 12 games?
Yeah, they were 12-0.
That's actually fucking crazy. Like, I feel like I had a solid point then. Like, if they were fucking 12-0, when's the last time a team went 12-0? Then that was the last time. It has to be.
No.
It definitely is.
No, it's not the
It
last time.
definitely is, dude.
Well,
I can't think-
that is the last time 3
Yes.
years ago. Yes.
Yeah, 3 years ago. I mean, that's a fucking crazy good record.
Yeah.
Obviously, 3-0 is far.
They're the worst 12-0 team I've ever seen, though.
Yeah, but sure.
I still stand on that.
Sure. Like, I think both things were sort of true though at the time though. Like looking back, don't you think you're like you guys were right that like they weren't going to continue it. But I was also like, you can't deny in the context of making power rankings, you can't deny the 12-0 fucking.
I think
team.
I had them. I had them at like 3.
Yeah, I was like, they haven't
12-0.
lost a fucking game. It just didn't make sense.
You argued for them to be number one because of their record. And when I would say that they look who they played, you're like, Mike doesn't count. You can only play. You only play.
I'll relitigate
That's
this
it.
shit if you want, but don't oversimplify what my argument was, because what my argument was winning football. Like I saw every week winning football, and they could only play the teams that were put in front of them. And at some point, the 12 wins, that's so many. Like that's a good
Is that
season
true?
in
Or
total.
did I make that up again?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Now you're giving me like wrong information. 12 doesn't sound right. Was it 11?
I think it was 11. I
Was it
remember
11?
it being 11.
11
I
sounds
remember it
right.
being 11.
Bobby thinks it was anything that I don't think it was. So if I just pick up,
I
No,
thought
I
7.
remember it being 11.
They had a great.
that was 2020, right?
11 and
Yeah,
0.
2020.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then they got their ass kicked.
Yeah, it definitely. They didn't lose 4 games in a row, right?
I don't remember the last time they lost 4 games in a row.
They lost,
That's
and
the
then they
thing.
got their ass kicked in the playoffs by the Browns. Remember?
Yes.
They were 11 and 0. Yeah, 11 and 0. And then they
11.
went 1 and 4.
Yeah. And you guys were right. You absolutely nailed it. But with the data that we had, it didn't make any sense that they were number 1 in the power rankings. It just didn't. So,
But it makes sense that the Seahawks are 3-0 and not included in the rankings.
3 and 12 are very different.
Well,
I
it
really
just-
do. 3 and
Well,
11.
12 isn't.
3 and 11 are still very different. Not as different. 1 game less.
But you
But-
said stats as the time that we have them. Data.
No,
the
I
time that
said
we have
data at the time that
Data.
we had it.
Sorry.
And I think that what we're seeing now from the Steelers, which is a very similarly built Steelers team and with the same coaching staff, meant that it was less unreasonable for me to think that they would tip towards good as opposed to tip towards bad. Bobby says they're the worst 12-win team that he's ever seen. Guess what? They didn't even win 12 games. They only won 11. So how can that even be true? How can that even be true, Bobby? But now we'll talk about them later, much later, because they're pretty high up on the list now. So obviously we've broken through, but I really do think it's a very singular situation with the Seahawks because the 3 teams that they've played really could be not informing us of anything about the Seahawks. Like it really could be a situation where like no one's tested the water on if they can really hang in a game against even an okay team or a team with a chance to win the game as it seems from who they've played. No.
Well, I have
think
thoughts, but I don't want to spoil it. So
Yeah,
I'll
I
let
think
Bobby
you
go
could
first.
make an argument for having them on this list. It's just a matter of what you decide is more impressive. The Seahawks beating 3 teams that, like we said, we can't write home about, or the Saints start in their collapse in week 3. You know what I mean? And the Packers winning 2 games without their quarterback. You know what I mean?
But-
And so it just depends on what you actually think is more impressive. What?
Okay, so they beat Carolina, which we all agree is shit. The Saints. We all have just walked out of a room of talking about how bad the Cowboys are. So the Saints' 2 wins are against terrible teams that we just said, and they are on the list. But the Seahawks are undefeated or not.
I have to agree about the Saints, and I did say that when the list came in. I thought the Saints were the most.
They were the talk of the league after the first 2
No,
weeks.
not by anybody who knew though. Like, come on, we were all saying like they're not going to do this all season. Like Derek, like there was a Derek Carr. Okay, well he's going to become Derek Carr again in a week or 2. Like that got said. Like that got said before it happened. I think by me. I don't want to take the credit, but I was like, he'll be Derek Carr again before you know it, and bang, he's Derek Carr again before you know it. I think that they have good skill players in New Orleans, and I don't think any of us said that they were a terrible team coming into the season or like in any way like, I thought they were, 500-ish. It was sort of I think where we were all sort of assessing them. And they looked a little bit better than that in the first a lot better than that in the first 2 weeks, but then they look like the Saints, right? So it's hard for me to argue because I I know who the Saints are, and I know who they're going to continue to be over the course of the season. They're going to play bully ball again. They did this last year. This is why it wasn't surprising. They did this last year. Bully ball against bad teams. They're a great litmus test for who's a bad team. If your team loses to the Saints, you probably suck. And like the Cowboys are a great example of that because like it let us know they beat up on bad teams, and here we are. The fact of the matter is, I don't know who the Seahawks are yet. I really don't. I think that there's a chance that they're a 10-win team, and I think there's a chance they're a 7-win team. And I think them being 3-0 with that sort of inability to judge which way it's going to go, I do think it should have sneaked them into the top 10. I'd have to agree, but the margins are not super, super wide. I can see why you did what you did because of how they looked in the first 2 weeks. I guess we should just go into the rest of the power rankings now. That's a nice little transition because number 9
right.
is the Green Bay Packers. It is depressing to me that they made their offense still look good without Jordan Love. It was really upsetting. I didn't enjoy watching it, especially as like all the Caleb Williams and my Chicago Bears narratives sort of unfolded. They're playing the Vikings this week, and I think that that's a really interesting game because I think Love might be back. The noise sounds like there's a good chance that he's going to be back. The Vikings, I think, are in the vein of the Saints, where I think we're going to see what the Vikings are actually all about in a few weeks. And I think Sam Darnold is still Sam Darnold. I think the conversation's like, oh, well, he just needed a second bite of the apple. Like no, I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think that he's the guy. I think he's got the best wide receiver in the league, which I think will make everybody look like a little bit better. But I think that that's a pretty flawed Vikings team. And I think that they're really well coached though. So we'll see what happens between them and Green Bay. It's an old adage on this show. We'll know a lot more after this week.
We'll know a lot more. Yeah.
We'll know a lot more after this week. But I think it's one of the more interesting divisional conference NFL matchups that we're going to see this week as far as like which teams
Jordan Love might be a tough motherfucker if he's coming back from his injury this fast.
Yeah.
I had doubts about him, but
I don't think he looked good before he went down, but I also am willing to give everybody a mulligan on that bullshit Friday game, where like I thought his footwork looked really bad, but I think like the way the field was, like I think he was probably just trying to like not die, and then like he almost failed. So I think we're gonna see what the Packers are all about. But they're obviously a well coached team if they were able to put together that offensive performance as they did this current week. Any hot takes on the Packers, guys? And anything? Anything I'm
they
missing?
can look like that with Malik Willis. I'm intrigued to see what we got.
I know he's not good, but I also know the Titans are good. So if we're gonna do like weight of wins,
and the Colts aren't good.
Yeah, I mean,
the Colts aren't good.
We really should have beaten the fucking Colts. That was fucking depressing. Everybody could run on.
Well, that wasn't really a shot at you, but I mean,
it feels.
The thing would be is that it feels like that this is like the next iteration of a new offensive system that anyone can just jump into it. It's not to the extent of like a Shanahan offense right now, but
I don't know how true that is. If they had to play Malik Willis for the next like 8 weeks, you really think that like the teams wouldn't just find ways? Like they would like.
I don't know.
Game tape
He's
away.
That same coaching tree though. He's the same coaching tree as Shanahan and.
True. I don't know if you said 8 games with Malik Willis, I think that they would go 5-3, and I think that is fucking massive.
Yeah, well, I mean that math makes sense. That maths because they went 2-1, essentially. Jordan Love and a little bit of Malik Willis. So yeah, it makes sense. The maths. It's just I get sad when I'm talking about that being good again. Okay, fine, whatever.
You mean still?
No. Last couple of years of Aaron Rodgers were nice. I didn't mind those so much. I could see it was starting to sort of fall off. I knew they weren't going to win any Super Bowls or anything. Like that was good. They've been winning things my whole goddamn life. All right, let's come on to talk about the Ravens. They smashed the Cowboys.
The controversial Ravens.
They smashed the Cowboys. Mike, are you saying it's stupid because do you think they're too low?
No, because they're on the fucking list. Yeah,
I think it's stupid they're on the list. They looked really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
They beat a shitty team. You would just establish that the Dallas Cowboys are not a good team.
But then they were also like a toe away from beating
the Chiefs. And
they had one bad week. They've looked good 2 out of 3 weeks, and they're clearly good on paper.
Are the Falcons on this list?
You think the Falcons over?
The Falcons. The Falcons.
They just barely lost to the Chiefs.
We should have talked about the Falcons
Well, we can still do it. It's not like
the Falcons do it
No,
pretty good.
Gonna scrap the whole thing. I think. Listen, my
the Falcons probably should be on the list over the Saints, if anybody.
The Falcons look pretty good.
I'd probably have a fucking aneurysm if the Falcons and the Ravens were on up, but the Seahawks weren't. But I think that you're putting the Ravens on this list because of what you think they can be, what they should be, but not because of what they are. And that's my big fucking problem with
what
them.
do you mean?
What
they are is I was watching Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry go fucking bananas for the entire day.
They're 1 and 2.
That's what they are, though. That's what they are.
Like their team is stacked, bro.
Right. So they should be better. That is what you're saying.
They should be
better. 2-1.
They are gonna be better. I promise you, they're gonna be better. What are you saying? You're saying that you should put the whole fucking integrity of the power rankings on a knife's edge because you're gonna take the Ravens out, knowing they're coming back into the power rankings. You know they're gonna finish the season in the top 10.
They play the Bills. They play the Bills this weekend, so we're gonna learn a lot more. But
we're gonna learn a lot more. But they were saying it in perpetuity, and then they died. That's gonna be the story of that catchphrase.
But I'm telling you, the Ravens aren't going anywhere. That's why they never came off the list.
They're not. They're gonna have to be put back on in like a week.
Right. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
If I promise you this, Mike. I promise you this. If they lose to the Bills in any way glaring fashion, if it's a tight game, I'm still gonna be making my same stance on the Ravens, and I'm sure you're
3. And then they're gonna play.
I know, and you're gonna have the same opinion there, and we'll bring you back on.
We'll bring 4.
Yes. Okay. They have a tough schedule. Actually, I'm not realizing
they do. They do.
They're fucking. They're gonna. If they're 1 and 4. They can't be on the power ranking.
They won't be. Yeah.
If they're 1 and 3, they probably can't be either.
If you agree to draw the line there,
yeah, 1 and 3.
It's fine.
I think 1 and 3, you kind of can't be in the top 10. That's gonna be rough for them. If they do win, though, that's big if true. Do come back. Do come back to talk about the Ravens. We love having you.
Yes, I'll be here.
The Lions. Something's up. Something's up. Something's up. It doesn't look right. I was high on them
so
into the
fucking
season.
wild.
I know that. What you don't agree?
I mean,
well, it depends on where you rate the Cardinals, right? Like if kind of scraping by against the Cardinals, right? Like, what does that say? Are you high on them? Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler. You said you weren't high on Kyler, so it's like they should have beat that team by more. No.
Yes, I think they should have beat the Cardinals by more. I think that Tampa Bay. I think Tampa's a really good team. Like I think we're learning a lot about them. I do. I think they're going to be 9 or 10 wins. That's what we think, right? We didn't have the NFC this year, but that's what they thought.
8 or 9.
So like, sure, okay, 8 or 9. Sorry, yeah. Then they're 4 points away from being 3-0, and we're not talking about this. Something's off. I'm just doing
the eye test here. I'm just looking at them. They don't look as dynamic. Like the whole. Like pass to Amon-Ra over the middle.
They didn't score in the second half.
Yeah, like just Amon-Ra St. Brown over the middle, breaks a tackle, like makes a guy miss, peels off for 40 yards, not there.
Not to bring everything back to the fucking Ravens, but if you would just allow me, the Ravens let up 19 points in the fucking fourth quarter, and you weren't talking about how bad they look or something looks off. You're
because
like,
it was garbage.
Man, this team is
garbage
stacked.
time. Because it was garbage time.
Every time against garbage.
It's fucking garbage time, so it doesn't matter. It just doesn't have as much impact as the real game, like the actual competitive part of the game. Where, like, I just watched. Here's the thing: I watched the Ravens for 3 quarters look scary going downhill, and fun. Mike, it's fun to be high on the Ravens. Like, try it. It's fucking fun. They have Derrick Henry now. It's fucking crazy. They really look wildly good. And they literally beat a Dallas team by being like, we'll never, ever have to throw the ball, ever. And I think you're right. They should take that into the rest of their games. I don't think that their winning formula is making Lamar Jackson throw a bunch of times. I don't. But I don't know. With the eye test, the Lions, I think the Lions can turn it around. I think the Lions can definitely start to look explosive again. But they look a beat behind so far. I think we can all agree on that, no? Bobby?
Yes.
See? Well, I don't know. Where would you put the Lions, Mike?
I would put them. I think they're in the right spot. I just don't think that the 3 teams below them are the right 3 teams to be.
It's controversial below them. What we
Yes.
talked briefly about the Vikings. Anything more to add on them?
No, I mean, if they can hold it up, if they can hold this together, Parkinson's going to be back in 2 weeks. I don't know.
Prediction for that.
Darnold might
Packers.
be out. Darnold might be out this week, though.
Is he?
So is your boy Dobbs in? Is he going to be the MVP and the elite player that
Apparently
he was
they
last year?
can play
Bobby,
with
or-
any quarterback. Apparently they're good with any quarterback. That's the system there in Minnesota. So
The
it doesn't
KOC
matter.
system. That's what they do.
Yeah, they don't even give a shit. I could go in there tomorrow and I'd be throwing dots to Justin Jefferson apparently. But I don't know. I'd love a prediction from both of you in that Packers Vikings game because I do think they're a little enigmatic still. So it'll give me a little bit of a vibe of where you guys.
I'd like to know if Jordan Love is playing.
If Jordan Love plays,
let's say Darnold
Packers-
and Love play.
All right, Packers by 10.
Bobby
Packers by 10. I'm gonna go Vikings by 3.
with both QBs healthy. Vikings by 3.
Vikings by 3.
I might lean Vikings there too, but that's because I always want the Packers to win.
After what they look like against Texans, and the Texans, I still regard them very, very.
Yeah, we'll
good.
see how that math works out, right? Like maybe the Texans are still good, and that just meant that they played a good team. The Eagles, I told you guys were fucking creepy. I told you guys they were creepy as shit this year, and this week.
Contagious.
And, it's starting. It's they won. Don't get me wrong, but the Saints look like the Saints, and they were there to be beaten. Like they were sitting there to be beaten. And I think that
They got a
Sirianni.
They got a
might be-
Sirianni problem.
He might be out of his fucking mind. I
Yeah.
think that guy might actually be crazy. Like I think he might not know. Like I think he might not be connected to reality. I think that's the problem.
If he kicks a field goal, they win that game by
All good.
2 scores.
It's
Yeah,
just
we're good.
it's cinched
fine.
up. He overrode the offensive coordinator on like 4th and 1 there, right? Is that the play you're talking about? And then he ran
Yes.
like a bad play.
Twice.
It was very
Twice.
Bearsy.
Twice.
No, it's very upsetting.
Thank God for Saquon because he saved them.
Mike, do we have him as first coach fired?
No, I think we picked McCarthy again, didn't we?
Did we? Just for
good
you to be
pick.
spiteful?
I didn't pick him. You did.
I wanted Sirianni, I thought. I thought
Good
I went
pick.
in. I thought I went in.
I think
It's a good pick.
I think we might have picked Sirianni.
Sirianni v. Peterson right now, race to first coach fired. Who would you pick right this second?
Peterson.
Yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah, it's
Peterson.
bad. You gotta fucking go, dude. That's bad.
But Sirianni's a close second.
Yeah.
I mean, his team's 2-1. So. And,
Yeah,
I mean,
but like
again, you're one miraculous Kirk Cousins comeback away from being 3-0, and we're talking about this guy being fired.
I mean, but
Like, do you understand?
but you know why though, right? Like you
It's
understand
close.
why.
It's
Though.
because it's Philly.
but
It's Philly.
the higher up in this list that we're going, the more negative you are about the teams. It's been pretty fucking
I
wild.
don't think anybody looks that good. I don't
No
think
one
anybody
does.
looks that
No one
besides
looks
the
that
Chiefs.
good.
Besides the
except-
Chiefs.
I'll put it to you this
except
way.
the Chiefs. Except the fucking Chiefs.
And the fucking Ravens, apparently.
And
I have a note about the Chiefs also for the record, and I'll put it to you this way: like the teams that have looked, this is the fulcrum of the disagreement we're having here, Mike, thematically here. The teams that look the best are the teams I know are not the best right now across 3 weeks. The teams that look the best across 3 weeks are the teams that we all know for a fact are not the best teams, right? So if you were just doing form, it's
just
like
wait,
Chiefs, Saints, fucking, it's like Chiefs, Vikings, Saints would be the fucking top 3. And it's just not, right? It just
Seahawks.
isn't. Seahawks,
Still
sure, that's
Seahawks.
4. That's a ludicrous power rankings, Mike. If we adopt to your new world order,
No, I would do Chiefs, Steelers, Seahawks.
Seahawks 3.
Yeah.
Seahawks 3.
How
Power
can you-
rankings in the power rankings.
How can
Yeah.
you say that beating the Patriots is the easiest thing that anyone's going to do all year, and simultaneously think that that should put them at 3 by having a win under their belt against the Patriots?
Because
a Tua-less.
If I were to
Awful.
tell you, before the season started that through 3 games that Geno Smith would be like leading the top 5 in passing yards and touchdowns and efficiency, you'd be like, no, that would not happen. And he's doing it. Like their offense actually looks like a formidable offense again. That's why.
Yes.
And their defense doesn't suck.
Turns out maybe their coordinator last year fucking sucked.
I agree they should be
Chicago
on the
hired-
rankings, but three is a little
seems
high.
high.
Well, I was put back against the wall here, but
That's true.
Commanders aren't on the list, and I think that they should be on the list.
Commanders, can we actually talk about them for a quick second? I wanted to make one point.
Jaden Daniels, he looks
really good. He looks really good. It makes me nervous.
That one to McLaurin, in the corner of the end zone. That was something.
I'll say two things about that Commanders thing, and in the vein of like, let's not overreact. Okay, one is Cliff Kingsbury. Second half of the season, never once has he had a winning second half of a season in any capacity.
Just remember, he's not a coach. He's just an offensive coordinator.
In any capacity, in any job, at any level of football.
Is that true?
That's
not true at all. That's not true at all.
100% true.
No, it's not. When Mahomes was the quarterback in Texas,
he's under 500.
No, they were under 500 when he was there.
They were
really?
under 500. He's under 500 for his whole college career. He's under 500 for his whole college career. No, for his whole college career, Cliff Kingsbury is under 500 as a college coach. That is a true fact. So,
holy shit,
this guy is a ticking time bomb. What we're watching in Washington, it's two things. Because I remember I said two things. My second thing is that poor kid is real skinny. That poor kid's real skinny, and he really doesn't give a fuck about taking a hit. If you were to bet,
you think it's a bad recipe?
If you were to bet on anything, if you were to take your money and bet on anything, it was a great performance. I really thought the offense looked great. I think the kid's really, really talented. Cliff Kingsbury is not going to miraculously have a winning second half of this season. Just bet them winning games for the next 7 games, and then bet them losing games for the remainder of the season, and you will come out on top. You will come out on top across all your bets. You'll lose a couple. That's a cute puppy, Mike. I didn't know you had a dog right behind you. I mean, amazing. Really bringing the spirit of joy to the podcast. I love dogs.
Oh, sorry.
No, don't.
Thank you.
No, I mean, I was delighted. I can't not comment on seeing an adorable dog. I can't. It's like my brain's been wired in a different way since becoming a dog owner. I would have not been able to stop that if I tried. So at the end of the day, despite the derailment of seeing a beautiful dog, Cliff Kingsbury, kid's real skinny. They're talented. It's a good situation, but let's not overreact. Let's not overreact to that offense.
I think part of you is saying that because you're nervous that he's better.
Because it can't be both, right? It can't be him and Caleb. Like, there's just no fucking way. Yeah, that would suck. But I saw Caleb look talented also, so we'll see. Situationally, you'd probably rather be in Washington.
Be in Washington, yeah.
The Steelers are 4, the Texans are 3. That's wrong. I'm sorry. It's wrong. The Steelers are
it's not. Sorry, no, it's not. No.
I don't know.
Steelers look better than the Texans.
No, the offense has looked a lot better in Houston. One bad game doesn't make
the Steelers have had 0 bad games.
Make me think the promise isn't there. I
Steelers
know, but I'm just projecting further down the season.
They have the best.
I know that's not what I usually do, but it was.
Who's the best defense in the NFL?
Hold on,
Steelers.
Because 30
so
seconds
that makes
ago,
them, and that makes them the 4th best team.
30
the best
seconds ago,
defense, but they're the 4th best team.
It's about who did you beat. You don't value the Chargers. They beat them. You definitely don't value the Broncos.
I do value the Chargers. I do value the Chargers.
I value the Chargers.
I do value the Chargers.
Where are they on this list? I must have missed them when I was scrolling. But also,
Justin Herbert just got hurt. That's why
Denver.
You can't make if your starting QB goes down, they're not going to win those games. Like they lost this week, and their starting QB went down. I completely understand why the Chargers aren't on the list, but that doesn't mean I wasn't high on them coming in.
Listen, Houston was number 2 on this list the week before. And I just think
there's a definitive Pittsburgh bias on this fucking power rankings, and they're one down from where they should be. They haven't looked bad at any moment all season. You've watched them.
The upside is higher for Houston on the season. So
the upside is higher for Houston on the season. They have farther to go because they've looked worse. And it's this week's power rankings.
Just remember your argument against me for Baltimore and just use it on yourself now. Like, that's what you're doing. Like, you're just playing both sides of the coin here.
I think the Steelers have the defensive player of the year.
That is very true. He might be MVP.
We're talking roster. Fields is getting better week on week. Najee Harris looks like he can run in a run scheme by Arthur Smith. They look fucking
Talk
good.
to me after next couple weeks. And
Oh, okay.
They might be able to.
No. You don't need to
that
talk to them because they're playing Indy and Dallas, so they're going to be 5-0. Then they play Vegas, so we're going to call them 6-0.
Then they play the Jets,
and then the Jets, Giants, and then their season
Jesus.
starts.
Jesus.
Then it's Commanders, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Philly, Baltimore, Kansas City, and Cincinnati.
So
they really might start 7-0 though. Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, we have a potential. We have the potential for like, but the thing is like they look good. Like you can just tell watching them that they look good. Like Arthur Smith is a good OC. I told you guys that. I understand it was bad in Atlanta. I understand how bad it looked. I really genuinely do. But some people are just good at one job and not the other. And like meant for one job and not the other. He is good, and that offense is getting better week on week. And the best thing that could have happened to that team was a softer start, to just give the offense some time to bed in and keep the defense healthy and off the field, which is all they were asking for.
8 points a game.
Can I also just point out they started their first 2 games on the road, which is difficult, and they won them pretty convincingly. And I will say this last point about them, just to have it on record. Every time the Steelers play a game against any team this season, it looks like a Steelers game. And what I mean by that is anytime a team can do that, I think that they're in the championship conversation. Anytime the team can make every single game their type of game, they have the potential to win.
Championship conversation.
I'm not saying right now, but I'm saying when a team can do that.
You're not saying it right now.
Do you know what I'm saying when I say that, though?
I do know what you're saying, yes.
Have the Kansas City Chiefs been that team for the last, I don't know, 9 on 7, 8 years now, right? Where it's like, no matter how good the 49ers were going to be in that Super Bowl, the Chiefs made that Super Bowl a Chiefs game, right? Yep. And the Chiefs never lose a Chiefs game. Now, them being able to impose their will and this kind of current iteration of the Steelers team being able to impose their will, yes, I admit it's a different kettle of fish, and you've seen the Chiefs do it a lot more times and in way higher stakes. But seeing that quality and hoping that quality germinates and becomes an identity, we're cooking. We're thinking about something. Quite frankly, a sophomore slump for the Texans right now wouldn't be a big deal. It really wouldn't be a big deal. If CJ still looked like himself but didn't quite put up the electric numbers, they saw that they maybe overperformed in a few personnel units last year. They made really good offseason moves, but not enough of them to sort of compete at the level to get to the expectations that we put on them. And they do the same thing in the next offseason, and then they're where we thought they were going into this year. Like, I think the expectations might have been a little unfair on the Texans this year. Is that, like, I mean, CJ Stroud's a second-year player. You know? I mean, it's like what I was calling them to go to the Super Bowl. I'm out of my fucking mind. That's not fair. Like, that's not a fair thing to do. So, I don't know. As of right now,
but that's why I don't want to drop them down too much, because I still hold them in that regard.
I know you do, and I think it's fair. I think that they're really talented. I just think right now, if I had to put my life on one of those two teams winning a game, any given game on any given Sunday, the team that like enforces their will and their game plan across the entire season are the one I would feel safer betting on. I think you would too. So that's my impassioned play for them to be one higher on this power rankings. But what I do want to do really fast is, let's see, Chiefs, Bills, Texans.
It's all
AFC top 4. Okay.
All AFC.
Wow. NFC, guys, we are slacking. We fucking suck. I think that there's a possibility. The NFC do not look good. I think there's a possibility you could win 8 games and make the playoffs. Maybe 7 if we really want to be embarrassing. If you're the 7th seed and you've won 7 games in the NFC this year, that's going to be a rough watch. Okay, well, let's do it like this. The Steelers, the Texans, the Bills, and the Chiefs are all probably going to see each other come AFC playoff time. In a dogfight, Bobby, it's the Chiefs still, right?
It's
we should talk about the Bills, though. The Bills look good. The Bills look electric.
Why do we even have a show anymore? Because it's just
you know the way you always talk about the tiers, though? The tiers of the power rankings? The Bills and the Texans.
Have they joined them? Do you think they've joined the Chiefs, the Bills?
But the Bills have played the Cardinals, the Dolphins, and the fucking Jaguars.
Strength of schedule things really
47-10 now.
But they won convincingly, though.
Yeah,
I do.
Sure.
I do.
It's like a
There is
college game.
there's something in the back of your mind about the Bills at all times, right? Like you just can't shake it. But
When Tua didn't play against the Bills, right?
no, he did.
He got
No,
hurt
didn't he
against the
get?
Bills. He got hurt
Okay,
against
so
the
he got
Bills.
hurt in the second
Oh, he
quarter
got hurt
against
against the Bills, and then he didn't play against the. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Against
So
the
they played Kyler and Tua for a half.
But I think Kyler's. I mean, I'm higher on them.
They came back against the Cardinals too, which is pretty
They
good.
did.
I don't know. I feel like Josh Allen's like out there making fucking plays, and I think his skill
He
players
is.
are all like more evenly distributed, and then they're kind of a fun offense to watch. But like, man, they have made me think that they were better than they actually are a few times. So I'm a little
Like every year for the last 4.
Yeah, well, because they start playing really mistake-filled football towards the end of the season and like in the playoffs, and like Josh Allen specifically. And I get it, like you live with his mistakes because he's so like such a game-changing player. But
Yep.
damn, dude, like it's got to be frustrating in Buffalo. So I bet all the Buffalo fans are trepidatious like we are. But I mean, I understand why they're too behind the Chiefs. I really do. But I think there's a big difference right now between the Texans and the Bills, and I don't think there's that big of a difference between the Bills and the Steelers. Just saying. If the Bills and the Texans played right now, who do you think would win?
The Bills.
Where is it?
In Texans.
Then the Texans.
Yeah? Interesting. Low on the Bills from Mike. I had to take note of that. All right. Well,
only because you're saying like big game, and what you like, I fully believe what you just said too is that we've inflated them for the last 4 years, and
they look even better though than when we inflated them before, don't you think? Like he looks like he's gone up a level, I think. But what remains?
I think it's all about who he's played against, but you could be right.
All right. Well, since you guys aren't doing a Patriots only show this week, probably because like a doctor would have had to been present, I would love to go through and just do some quick.
Rachel would have died.
Yeah, I mean, damn. You can only get so toxic before you just become Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers feature movie. I'm gonna go through the week 4 matchups just to steal from your show, Mike, since you guys aren't doing one. And let's just get some quick predictions. Do we do spreads? Is it more fun to do spreads, or do we just do money line bets here? Let's just do the matchups.
Yeah.
Cowboys are playing the Giants tomorrow in the Thursday night game. Bobby, I'll let you go first on this one. Who wins?
Cowboys win. If not, I think McCarthy is officially actually on the hot seat. I know we like joke about it, but if the Cowboys,
he's already on the hot seat for sure. He's on the hot seat.
If they actually lose this game to the Giants, heads are rolling in Dallas.
I think it's going to be a big week for our rookie wide receiver Malik Neighbors. I think that he's looked really, really good, and I think he
has
the exact kind of guy that can tear up what's going wrong in Dallas. I agree with you.
Heads roll if they lose, though.
Yeah, I would hope so. It's going to be pretty bleak, Mike. It depends on the odds. I mean, but if you gave me like over 250 on the Giants, I'd probably bite your hand off for it, to be honest.
5.5, but I mean, we're just the money line. I mean, I'm taking Dallas. 5.5 is still a little bit too low for me to even take the Giants too. So
you think because I guess it makes sense. Like if the Cowboys win, they're going to win by like 2 scores. But if they
can't run the ball, so it's going to be all through the air.
They're not going to scrape it. You know what I mean? They're either going to fuck it up or they're going to like just get
they might be able to run the ball if they're not down 14-0 immediately.
No.
I mean, people are pretty low on baseball, but
you never know.
I feel
Bobby,
like
have they run the ball well all year?
They haven't had a lead all fucking year.
They don't have a good running back, Bobby.
They don't have a running back.
Like that's they. I mean,
Bobby, they beat the Browns 33-17 in week 1, and they rushed for their leading rusher ran for 40 fucking yards. What do you mean they haven't had a lead all year?
All right, whatever.
Look, there's a bigger chance that Dallas could lose this Thursday night game than any of us are comfortable with. I think that's like fair to say.
I'm quite comfortable with that.
They're not going to run very well for the rest of the year because they didn't go and get a running back. They, for some reason, got Ezekiel Elliott because they, I don't know, missed his fucking potluck dinners. I have no idea. I don't know what they watched of him on the Patriots that made them go like, yeah, that's our guy. But here we are. The Bengals are playing the Panthers. I think, the Bengals bounce back, right? This is a get it fixed game. They at least win this game, and we can kind of at least put a pin in the Bengals conversation over the next week before they start losing again. Mike, we're agreed there.
Yeah.
Bobby, you got Bengals, Panthers.
Yeah, Bengals.
Okay, Saints Falcons. I think this is going to probably be the nail in the coffin for the Saints season. Would be my instinct. I still think they could probably go flat track bully some lesser teams, but I think the Falcons have kind of gotten better and better. They're starting to use those skill positions a little bit better. Looked a little sluggish coming out of the gates, especially Kirk Cousins and his movement, but he started to look like regular season Kirk Cousins a little bit more with pretty decent skill players, and it seems like a decently well coached team this year. So I think the Falcons are going to notch up another win, but then again, Bobby was pretty high on that Saints offense across the first 2 weeks. If they look that electric again, then we need to really seriously revisit the conversation about New Orleans, I think, right?
I think this is going to be a conversation between these two teams that we're going to have a lot this year. I think
I don't know. I think it might be over after this week, and the Falcons.
No,
just
I think the
solid.
Falcons are going to be one of those teams that are also lingering around number 10 and number 9 on the power rankings a lot this year, along with the
Didn't make it this week.
1 and 2. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, fair. No, I agree. I mean, again, on the eye test, I do think that the Falcons look pretty decent.
And they're getting better.
They are getting better.
They are
definitely
getting better. For
That's-
sure.
They're one of the teams that's demonstrated.
I got the Saints, by the way.
You got this. All right, that's interesting. All right, we'll have to
Yeah,
revisit
I got
that.
the Saints.
You have Falcons. I have Falcons. Mike.
Yep.
Bobby's got Saints. Okay, cool. Jags Texans. Has to be a get right game for the Texans. Has to be. They have to
Yeah.
win. We are having a serious and extended conversation about the fate of the Houston Texans if they lose this, quite frankly, turgid, terrible Jaguars team. This is the Doug Peterson fire game, I think. This is the one that gets him fired. I think he goes before McCarthy and he goes before, obviously, Sirianni, because Sirianni has a winning record. Anyone disagree?
No.
Great.
No.
Broncos, Jets. Interesting. Broncos haven't come up so far on the show.
Jets are going to smoke them, DK.
Got it.
You think so?
Got it.
The Broncos
don't?
just smoked the bunk. The Broncos just
He
smoked
did say the
Bucs.
Bucks were good. And
Right.
They smoked the Bucks. So if we're
So-
doing football math, I don't think the Broncos are good. I don't think the Jets are as good as they look last week either.
No, I don't
do you
think
think
they
it's-
smoke them. What's the spread on this game?
I don't know.
7.5. So if that line was 9.5,
9.5,
I'd still take the Jets.
I think
Wow.
I would take the Broncos at 7.5. I'll be real.
Yeah, I think I
What?
take the Broncos at 7.5.
I think I will. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting week.
A little Bo Nix
where we
magic.
zagged. I like where we zagged here. This is interesting. Vikings Packers, we actually already talked about. We actually already made our calls on this. I think I would take the Vikings. Bobby would. Did you say you would just take the Vikings and Mike would take?
Yeah,
the
Vikings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steelers Colts. Steelers win that. I think that's pretty clear. The Colts beating the Bears obviously isn't fucking anything.
Line only being at 1.5 is wild to that game.
That is, well, I think every Steelers game has been so close. Every Steelers game has been they leave it tight, every single time. So I do think that line is low, but I guess Vegas hasn't decided at all that the Steelers offense is coming to the party here. Rams Bears. I have a really bad feeling this is going to be like the magnifying glass to our coaching disabilities that we have this season in Chicago, because I really think McVay is a really, really, really good coach. What he does in crisis situations, like how good he makes guys that come into the team, like I like the decision making across the whole game. I think he's always got something up his sleeve, and he's basically the opposite to Eberflus in almost every single way. So
If the Rams are good, this is like 24-3, somewhere through the third quarter.
I mean,
You know what I mean?
I
if
think
the
you're
Rams are
underrating the
actually
Bears
good.
defense a little bit, considering there's no Puka.
All right,
no Cooper.
17-3.
Well, that's it. I mean, I could see that. I could see 14 to 17 points, because I do think the Bears defense is good, but I need the offense to at least try something different in Chicago. They have to just try to do something different. If they do the same shit and they get out coached again, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be really, really ugly for Caleb and everybody else. And I don't want to be involved in those conversations that happen after that.
It's what it might be, though. It's what it might be.
Eagles Bucks. Mike, I'll come to you first on this, because you seem pretty high on the Eagles. Pretty high on the Bucks and a little bit low on the Eagles. Is it enough to say you would take the Bucks in a situation like this?
Yeah, I think the
It
Bucs
is
are
in
gonna do
Tampa.
what they did last year in the playoff game. I think they're just a team that's well equipped to handle
I really like
whatever
the
the hell's going on.
Yeah.
But
Like-
Saquon, though, like he is such a difference maker.
I know.
Yeah, so I would take the Bucks in this game. But
I kind of
it's
really,
not-
I have a really good feeling about them this week. I don't know what it is. I just think the Eagles are like primed to lose to a team that takes advantage of
in Philly?
situational football.
no.
It's in Tampa.
No, it's in Tampa, and I think the Bucks are really primed to take advantage of mistakes.
It's home dogs though, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tampa are the dog, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I like the Bucks this week. I would probably take them on any spread. Something about it. It's just it's screaming to me right now. Parlay it with the 49ers beating the Patriots because I think if we have to go through that again, Mike might punch me in the face through the camera.
10 point spread.
10-point
That's
spread.
not high
Up
enough.
to 10. Wow.
I would actually stay away from that spread bet. Not
I
to say
wouldn't.
that no, I mean not to say I'm not saying bet the Pats to cover the spread. I'm saying stay away because that's just too big of a spread to risk. I know that you're probably right. They probably will lose by more than 10, but it's just not a smart like gambling maneuver. And my gamblers know what I'm talking about. Cardinals Commanders feisty as fuck. I'm gonna name this
Feisty Bowl. Yeah.
our
that's what
feisty
it
bowl this week for sure. This is our fiesta taco this week for sure. I think I'm really looking forward to this game. Actually, I think I'm gonna main screen this one. Cardinals, frisky, like moving around, mobile quarterback with a cool weapon that's looked pretty good over the past couple of weeks. Same description for the Commanders. Same description. So it's kind of probably going to come down to defenses. If the Commanders are as electric as they were this week, they're winning. So
Right.
I'm going Commanders probably at least for the next few weeks before Kingsbury decides to set a comically sized TNT bomb in his own offense. Where do you guys land on this one?
I mean, I think this all lands on the quarterbacks. You know what I mean? You got the Kyler Jaden matchup.
Marvin Harrison.
So who do you trust more? You trust Kyler or Jaden Daniels?
Where is it?
Kyler.
Arizona.
I trust
Although
Kyler more, but I think I trust the weapons.
It's a tough call.
Yeah,
It's a tough call. It's a tough call. I would probably bet on the Cardinals going into this week. Mike, it sounds like you probably bet on the Commanders.
I bet on the Commanders.
Yeah,
I'm going
I'll take the
Commanders.
Commanders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be a contrarian, I'll do the Cardinals because when you asked who I trust more, like that connection's getting better by the week. Chiefs Chargers. I wish this was a more interesting conversation, but it doesn't look like Herbert's going to play. So I really think if he had stayed in the game,
Or Bosa, or the two tackles.
Bosa, yeah. I mean, best case scenario for Harbaugh for a situation where he's probably going to have a losing record across 5 games was always going to be because of injury, right? So
Right.
I think we can see that Harbaugh is a 10,000 times better coach than the regime they had in Los Angeles for the Chargers last season. That was the worst coaching situation I think I've ever seen. Harbaugh's clearly a good coach. I think he's got a long way to go with that team. They're definitely going to lose to the Chiefs. No one here is calling the Chargers. We might have a conversation about it. You know, there is some weird Pat Mahomes stats that came out this week, but I'm reticent to bring them up. I don't know if you guys saw them at all.
No, I think we do this every goddamn year.
That's
and
why
it's
I'm
like-
reticent to bring them up. That's
And
why I'm
it's so
reticent to bring them up.
stupid, and I'm just so sick
Because
of doing it.
One
now.
of the stats that I saw was like in his past 11 games, he hasn't thrown for like more than 300 yards, and like these are his touchdown stats in his past 11 games. And I'm like, one of those games is him winning a Super Bowl.
and him having a
One of
Super
those
Bowl
11
MVP,
games.
bro. Like, yeah, it's
Like,
so
One of
stupid.
those games is him winning the whole thing. So, and a lot of those other games are him winning winner go home games. So I don't know. Like I read stats like that, and you're right, Bobby. Like it's just I read them, and and that's why I say I'm reticent to bring them up because I'm just like I don't think it matters. So yeah, the Chiefs
If they
are
win,
gonna
if
that
they
game.
win another Super Bowl, I'm like, all right, I think we're just done having a show.
I just think that like I'm glad that we bailed early on the people that were mistaking their hope that wouldn't be the next dynasty with like actual analysis, right? So we were all
Right.
kind of hoping that we wouldn't see the Chiefs like just start to really dominate and get to that point, but now that we've seen it, at least we jumped off the bus early. I mean, I did the same thing with the Pats, you know, like I stopped hoping against them, and it made my credibility go up because I stopped being super fucking wrong all the time. Like where it was just like, I don't know, I think they're probably going to win because they always do. And then there you go. So
Yeah.
let's not bring down the whole house of cards of the entire podcast network here. But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are going to win that game. Raiders, Browns. I don't want to know actually who wins. I don't
Yeah,
actually want to know anything about that game.
Okay.
Don't tell me anything about it. Keep it off of red zone. It'll keep itself off of red zone. That game's going to keep itself off of red zone. I I'll
Watch
take
it be the highest scoring game of the week.
I know.
It always fucking happens.
I'll take the Raiders.
Raiders.
I'll take the Raiders.
Raiders.
Browns. Stop. It's the Brown. You know it. You just know
No, fuck
it.
the
You
Sean
both just
Watson.
told me. No, hold on. I know, but this is I do because of what I value your opinions, both of yours, and you both just told me 45 minutes ago that the Raiders are you can't lose to them team, and you think that the Browns are going to do that.
Yeah, can I just actually use that point to make my current point about this matchup? They are the can't lose to them team, and it would be just like the Browns to lose to them. I'm taking the Raiders. This is in the Browns' DNA is to lose to the you can't lose to them team. That's what they do. The Browns' new identity
I hope
we should be
CJ
good,
was
but we're
left
not.
of the game.
You know. Oh, that's a depressing game to talk about. I really took the win out of myself. Marquee matchup, Sunday Night Football. God damn, this is going to be a lot of fun. I might make nachos or some shit for this game. Bills-Ravens. I'm really looking forward to this. 2 mobile quarterbacks, 2 teams with definite inconsistencies and flaws. Who can exploit whom? Harbaugh is looking a little shaky to me still, guys. Like last year, we had this conversation a few times.
We've been talking about this for 2 years.
Yeah, the game passed him by conversation is a little bit makes me a little bit nervous. But that being said, I think I'm still taking the Ravens in that game.
No matter who I pick, it hurts my overall take. So, but I am going to pick the Bills because I think this is going to be a game that you're going to have to throw a ton, and I don't know.
I think the Ravens are going to have to throw a lot. You don't think Henry
Yeah.
can just run downhill on them?
No, yeah,
I
I
think
think
the Bills
both
are
teams
gonna-
rush over 150 yards.
I think the Bills are going to score first. Like it might be like a 10-3 type of situation, and they're not going to. I think Harbaugh's going to abandon the run.
Ooh, if that happens, I don't see it going that way. I see it as the Ravens do a really good job of keeping Josh Allen off the field, and the Bills don't do as good of a job of keeping Lamar off the field, and Derrick Henry because he gets to go out there at the same time as Lamar, which is crazy. Like I can't even I mean,
He's
I
still
know that,
so good.
I know it's like it's like the 11-year-old.
That stiff arm. That stiff arm.
That stiff arm was wild. Like
unbelievable.
that guy, unfortunately, was just involved in probably my favorite highlight of the past 5 years. It was the best stiff arm I think I've seen, maybe ever. It was so debilitating I don't even want to say the guy's name because it's just too mean at this point. But yeah, that was crazy. And also he looks bigger in purple.
Oh yeah,
He does.
Yeah, I think.
Is he also bigger?
The
He looks
Bills will be
bigger.
able to stop the run this week. I think it's Ravens.
Yeah, I think they might run all over him. It might
Run all over.
Something clicked. Something clicked.
might have to come back next week. Just to,
Yeah, I would love
just
I would love for you to. This is great. We're establishing narratives. I mean, this is what we do best here. Missing the point. Establishing season narratives is
our
our
favorite
bread
thing to do.
and butter.
Yeah.
Bills Ravens gonna be a great game. Titans Dolphins. Wow, what a poop fest.
Dolphins.
That's not good.
Dolphins.
I'll take
Is
the
that
Dolphins. But
That's one of the duo Monday night games, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of the deuce Monday night games. One of the
Thank
number
God we
2
have a second
Monday
one.
night games. Seahawks Lions is a fucking great Monday night game.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
really
good
looking
game.
forward to that. Let's move right along there. I think we'll all take the Dolphins against the Titans, despite the fact that the Dolphins are gonna. I don't know. You know what they should do? They should play the Wildcat with Tyreek Hill against the Titans.
Will Levis is still
That'd be
the quarterback
fun.
of the
That'd
That would be
Titans.
electric, dude. The Dolphins, the premier Wildcat team of the NFL. If you think about it, had the most sustained weeks of success in the NFL running the Wildcat consistently until Bill Belichick got his hands on him, right? So,
No, it started against us. That's what actually started.
but
the
it
whole
ended
Wildcat
against
thing.
you. It ended
know if
against
that's true.
us. No, I'm 100% sure it's true. I remember that game like it was yesterday. When you met them again in Miami, because the Miami game was the second game. Belichick ran the fucking score up against the Dolphins, and the Wildcat went nowhere. And then you never saw the Wildcat ever again. Belichick, 100%. I'll find the game for you after this. But I think that's what they should do. Tyreek Hill Wildcat. I think their road to glory. And I think Mike McDonald would do it. I really think he's one of us. And he looks so Miami. I wore these sunglasses in tribute to Mike McDonald's
in honor of him?
sideline
Yes.
outfit. Yeah, I'm inspired by him. I really am still cheering for him. I think he's awesome. And I think he put a little perm in his hair, and it's all just like working for him. I don't want him to have to leave Miami. I think him and the city obviously are made for each other, and I think that we should keep this season riding high. I do think that they need to get a quarterback in there that his brain isn't jelly. Why? What am I messing up?
So his name,
What's his name?
Mike McDaniels.
Isn't that what I said?
No, McDonald twice.
Maybe I'm hungry. Yeah, Mike McDaniels. And then there's also a McDaniel, which he should just change his name to McDonald, right? Like, let's
Mike
just make it
McDonald,
like a
Mike
little less.
McDonald is the coach of the Seahawks, right?
Yeah, there's too many white guys.
Yeah.
there's so many Mike. I thought I was saying McDaniel, was I not?
No.
I must have McDonald's on the brain. Maybe I'll go to the drive-thru after this. Yeah, McDaniel, I love him. I got the sunglasses on in tribute, and I'm bad with names. Seahawks, Lions. Seahawks. Ooh, jumping out at me. Jumping
This
out at me a
also
little bit
hurts.
after all the Mike arguments.
This
Now I'm
fucking
taking
hurts. I know.
taking the
Me
Lions.
too.
I'm taking the Lions. They're gonna win, but it's how they win, right? It's the manner in which they win is going to be important.
This is a test for the Seahawks offense. If the
Seahawks
Seahawks
are able to
offense comes
win.
out and does something in this game, I'll believe in they'll be on the
Agreed.
list next week for sure.
Agreed. I think if the Seahawks are able to win this game, we have two pretty big conversations to have about both teams, because I think it does as much for the Seahawks in a positive way as it hurts the Lions, because we have a big conversation to have about the Lions if they lose to the Seahawks team. That's it. That's the slate of games. We did it. The power rankings were more controversial this week, I have to say. It was a real return to form in pissing off Mike specifically, Bobby. So
I like it. I like it. That's what I do.
All very good and apt points. Really looking forward to the NFL week kicking off tomorrow. Good luck, Bob. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be the player of the game. So for myself, DK Sizzle, for Mike Marcangelo, for the real BK Bob Kelly, this has been the Power Rankings on Missing the Point.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Exposed, where we dive into the stories of visionary entrepreneurs revolutionizing the workforce. Our ongoing mission is to showcase founders and creators doing amazing things in business and beyond. If you're a founder, CEO, tech enthusiast, or someone generally interested in startup land, join me, Adam Levinter, as I dive into what makes an entrepreneur an entrepreneur. Find us wherever you get your podcasts.
Have you ever wondered what actually happens in Congress every day? Stay informed on Capitol Hill's daily happenings with a concise, factual summary of the Senate and House of Representatives' activities from the previous session, free from bias, on the Congressional Record Daily Digest podcast. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and discover the process from the heart of U.S. politics. The Congressional Record Daily Digest, an Electricast production.
Electricast.